The story of the P-47 Thunderbolt begins in the early 1940s, when the world was consumed by war, and the skies were a new battlefield. Republic Aviation set out to design a fighter that could dominate both air and ground. What emerged was a beast of steel and fire, the P-47. Weighing nearly 8 tons when fully loaded, it was one of the largest single-engine fighters ever built. While other fighters were sleek and nimble, the Thunderbolt was massive. But in that size lay its power. It carried 8.50 caliber Browning machine guns, one of the heaviest armaments of any fighter in the war. From its first flight in 1941, it was clear this was no ordinary airplane. This was a flying fortress, a juggernaut of the skies. At the heart of the P-47 was the mighty Pratt & Whitney R. 2800 double wasp engine, 18 cylinders of pure thunder, producing over 2,000 horsepower. This engine gave the Jug the strength to climb, dive, and fight with relentless endurance. With its massive turbo supercharger tucked behind the cockpit, the P-47 could roar to heights over 40,000 feet. Pilots described the takeoff like unleashing a wild beast, heavy, rumbling, and unstoppable once airborne. In the air, that power translated to speed and survivability. Few engines could take the punishment this one could. Even with holes in the fuselage or damaged cylinders, the Double Wasp kept running, carrying its pilot home time and again. When the P-47 entered combat in 1943, it shocked both allies and enemies. At first, pilots doubted its size, calling it a flying tank rather than a fighter. But soon, the Thunderbolt earned their trust. In level flight, it was fast. In a dive, it was nearly untouchable. The Jug's thick armor and rugged design meant it could absorb hits that would destroy lighter planes. German pilots learned quickly. Allied flyers realized they could dive into a dogfight, take a few hits, and still come out alive. It was a machine built for survival. Its 8 Browning .50 caliber machine guns gave it devastating firepower. In just a few seconds, the P-47 could unleash a storm of bullets capable of shredding armored trains or enemy aircraft. Before the Mustang arrived, it was the Thunderbolt that first escorted Allied bombers deep into enemy territory. Over Europe, P-47s flew long missions with B-17S and B-24S, protecting them from Luftwaffe attacks. Though its range was limited compared to later fighters, pilots learned to stretch every drop of fuel. Their thick armor gave them confidence to fight head-on against Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs. For countless bomber crews, the sight of those broad-winged Jugs was a symbol of hope. To extend their reach, P-47s were fitted with drop tanks, slim, external fuel containers that allowed them to fly deeper into Germany than ever before. Escort formations became an aerial shield, swarming around bomber groups like guardians of the sky. As the war evolved, so did the Thunderbolt's role. Its true calling was not just in the air, but on the ground. With its heavy guns, bombs, and rockets, the P-47 became a nightmare for German troops, tanks, and trains. Flying low and fast, pilots strafed convoys, bridges, and enemy lines. Its armor allowed it to survive fierce anti-aircraft fire, often returning to base riddled with bullet holes, yet still running. This was the birth of the fighter-bomber legend. Each mission demanded nerve and precision. Pilots dived through walls of flak, unleashing 8.50 caliber machine guns with devastating effect. Entire German columns could be shattered in minutes, the roar of the Jug's radial engine striking fear long before its guns opened fire. Ground forces began to call them the Angels of Thunder, a fitting name for a plane that rained destruction yet protected the troops advancing below. Thunderbolt pilots often said the Jug looked after them. Its cockpit was spacious and comfortable by WWII standards, and its rugged airframe was a lifesaver. Stories spread across squadrons of pilots landing safely after losing half a wing or having the tail shredded. One pilot, Robert S. Johnson, survived being hit over 200 times by enemy fire and still made it home in his P-47. That kind of durability earned the aircraft a reputation for toughness unmatched in its era. The armor plating around the cockpit was so thick that pilots joked it was like flying inside a metal fortress. Even the oil and fuel systems were self-sealing, designed to contain damage and prevent fires. Mechanics often marveled at returning jugs, wings torn, holes the size of fists in the fuselage, yet the engines still roared as they rolled down the runway. During D-Day and the Battle of Normandy, the P-47 was the hammer that broke German defenses. Flying hundreds of sorties each day, they destroyed supply lines, vehicles, and artillery. Their attacks paralyzed German movements, clearing the way for Allied forces to push inland. When the troops saw P-47s overhead, they cheered because they knew the Jug meant victory. Thunderbolts flew in tight coordination with ground commanders, striking targets marked by smoke or flare. Bridges, railways, and fuel depots vanished under waves of rockets and .50 caliber fire. Pilots risked their lives flying through clouds of flak to hit enemy armor, massing for counterattacks. In the days following the landings, P-47s became the constant guardians of the beachhead, ensuring that no German reinforcements could reach the front. Their relentless air cover was one of the key reasons the Allied advance across France never lost momentum. Even when outnumbered or outturned, the Jug's raw power made it a deadly opponent. Its dive speed exceeded 500 miles per hour, faster than most German fighters could follow. Enemy pilots often broke off rather than chase a diving Thunderbolt. It could take a beating, keep diving, and pull out with ease thanks to its strong wings and durable frame. Many aces made their name in P-47s, proving that brute strength could be just as lethal as agility. The massive Pratt & Whitney R, 2800 double wasp engine, a 2000 horsepower beast, gave the Jug unmatched acceleration in a dive. Pilots used this to execute the boom and zoom tactic, swoop down, strike hard, and climb away before the enemy could react. In the hands of skilled pilots, the Thunderbolt became a high-speed hammer, striking with precision and escaping with raw muscle. The P-47 wasn't just a European warrior. It fought in every major theater. In the Pacific, it tackled jungle targets and flew long over-water missions. In Italy, it smashed railways and convoys. Across Burma and China, it supported ground troops in harsh conditions. Wherever the Allies fought, the Jug was there, roaring, relentless, and resilient. In the Pacific's brutal heat and humidity, maintenance crews worked miracles to keep the massive engines running smoothly. Thunderbolts often flew from rough, makeshift airstrips carved out of jungles or islands. Their ability to absorb damage and still complete missions made them invaluable in remote areas where replacements were scarce. In the China-Burma-India theater, the Jug earned deep respect from both American and Allied pilots. They called it the Iron Guardian, a plane that could take punishment from flak, weather, and enemy fighters and still bring its pilot home. The engineering of the P-47 was ahead of its time. Its turbo supercharger gave it unmatched high-altitude performance, while its robust cooling system prevented overheating even under stress. Engineers at Republic built it like a tank but balanced it like a racer. It was a masterclass in American industrial power, a symbol of what wartime innovation could achieve. The intricate network of ducts, turbines, and exhausts that made up its turbo system was revolutionary, allowing the P-47 to maintain power even above 30,000 feet, where most engines gasped for air. Its massive propeller converted that energy into sheer thrust, propelling the aircraft faster and higher than nearly any piston engine fighter of its time. Despite its size, the controls were responsive, giving pilots surprising agility in high-speed flight. Every nut, bolt, and rivet of the Jug spoke of precision, built not for beauty, but for victory. The pilots who mastered the P-47 shared a bond with their machines. From the 56th Fighter Group, known as Zemke's Wolfpack, to squadrons in Italy and the Pacific, these men became legends. They named their Jugs with fierce pride: Big Ass Bird, Fieri Ginger, Tallahassee Lassie. Each plane carried its own story, a personal emblem of courage in the sky. Zemke's Wolfpack alone produced dozens of aces, including Francis Gabby Gabreski, who became one of America's top-scoring fighter pilots. Their tactics, diving attacks, lightning-fast climbs, and teamwork turned the P-47 into a predator of the skies. Pilots often said the Jug demanded respect but rewarded skill. Once you understood its power, it became an extension of your will. Across airfields from England to New Guinea, painted noses and kill marks told tales of triumph and survival, symbols of men who dared to duel death with thunder in their wings. By 1944, the Thunderbolt had become a cornerstone of Allied air power. It cleared the skies of German fighters, crushed ground resistance, and paved the way for victory. The Luftwaffe could not match the combination of power, numbers, and resilience that the P-47 brought. It wasn't just an aircraft, it was a force of nature, the sound of thunder heralding freedom. Entire formations of jugs roamed enemy skies, sweeping aside resistance and ensuring Allied bombers could strike deep into the heart of Germany. With every mission, they tightened the noose on Axis supply lines and shattered enemy morale. Pilots described the sight of hundreds of Thunderbolts filling the sky as a storm of metal and might. By the time the war neared its end, the P-47 had flown over 500,000 sorties, a record unmatched by any other fighter of its generation. Its thunder was the drumbeat of Allied victory. After the war, the P-47 continued to serve in air forces around the world, from South America to Asia. It became a training aircraft, a reconnaissance plane, and a ground attacker in new conflicts. The Jug's design influenced post-war fighters and cemented its place as one of the most successful aircraft in aviation history. Nations like Brazil, Mexico, and France flew Thunderbolts for years after the war, using them in patrol and combat missions long after newer jets emerged. In Latin America, P-47s even saw action in border disputes and regional conflicts, proving their worth yet again. The ruggedness that defined the Jug in Europe made it a dependable workhorse in peacetime skies. Its engineering principles, power, protection, and reliability became the foundation for later American fighters, including early jets like the F-84 and F-86. Even as the jet age dawned, the Thunderbolt's thunder never truly faded. Even decades later, veterans recall how the Jug saved their lives. They remember the roar of its engine and the unshakable sense of protection. Museums today display surviving Thunderbolts, their metal scarred, but their legacy intact. To walk beside one is to feel the power and courage of a generation. Restorers and collectors across the world dedicate their lives to keeping these machines alive, bringing the roar of the R. 2800 back to life at airshows and memorial flights. Each takeoff is a living tribute, the sound of history echoing through the clouds once more. When the Jug flies today, it isn't just a relic, it's a voice from the past, reminding us what courage, craftsmanship, and determination can achieve when the world needs heroes. Today, the P-47 Thunderbolt stands as a symbol of strength, resilience, and engineering brilliance. It was never the prettiest fighter, nor the fastest, but it was one of the few that truly earned its nickname, the Juggernaut of the Skies. From the battlefields of Normandy to the jungles of the Pacific, the roar of the Thunderbolt echoed freedom. It remains a reminder that victory isn't always about elegance. Sometimes, it's about unstoppable power. Its presence in aviation museums and airshows continues to inspire new generations of pilots and engineers. The Jug embodies the spirit of those who fought not just with skill, but with heart and determination. Each surviving Thunderbolt tells a story of courage in the sky, sacrifice on the ground, and the unyielding will to endure. Long after its final mission, the P-47 still carries that thunder, a timeless salute to the men and machines that shaped the sky and changed the course of history.